The Miami Dolphins. I remember it. I've told the story many times. I was on my way to the press box. He had to take an elevator to get up there. It's always a guy named Smitty. He's operating the elevator. Hey, Smitty, yeah, take him up to the press box. No, they're clear. So I get in the elevator. I'm the only guy in the elevator at that point. And I ask him something, just to pass a little conversation along. Because, it feels awkward, right? Everybody's in the elevator and they're all staring at the floors. Like what floor it's going on. Nobody talks to each other.
The elevator ride is the most awkward ride. No one ever talks. Right?
People start smelling their own armpits to see if it's them. I thought I had deodorant, huh? In Lubie's case, I don't know what you would recommend. We were thinking maybe a Dilaudid drip. Because his worst fear is that Ryan Tannehill carries a team to a Super Bowl after he and many like him, including, I don't know that I was adamant that he could never do it. Ian Eagle.
In regards to Lubie, he's not the first talk show host to fall victim to this. You make a statement, and then for the rest of your life, you root against that person because you don't want to be proven wrong.
Oh my God.
Like Ryan Tannehill is a nice guy. He's a class act. He's had a great second chapter with the Tennessee Titans. He's rebuilt his career. Yet there's Lubie in his basement with like a small little doll, sticking needles into the neck of Ryan Tannehill just because he doesn't want his original statement to come back to haunt him. And we've all been there. That's the thing. Like you can't get away from it, and it becomes very personal. Like there's no reason, no logical, rational reason for Mike to hate Ryan Tannehill.
Zero.
He's done nothing wrong.
He was nice to Lubie when he was on the show.
Nice.
Correct, and yet you still have these feelings of rage, which you may need to seek some form of treatment at this point. You need to talk to a professional. I can't help you. It's beyond my pay grade at this point.
The time.
Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
What a beautiful Tuesday morning. Good to be with you here on Ion Channel. It's the Defo Show. I'm Jeff Deforrest, along with one Mike Lubie. Lubitz, the aforementioned Mike Lubitz. I thought that was great. That, we had Ian Eagle talking voodoo dolls of Ryan Tannehill in an effort to get you off the hook and keep your thought and philosophy about Ryan Tannehill consistent, that Ryan Tannehill will never lead a team to a Super Bowl. I don't know that that's going to hold true forever. It's possible Tennessee makes a couple of subtle improvements, maybe jazzes up their offense a little bit so they're not so dependent on Derrick Henry and the run, so they don't stack 9 people into the box and then allow Tannehill to complete a couple of passes. But, wow, you got your wish, Lubie. That was probably the highlight of the weekend. As great as that Kansas City-Buffalo Bills game was, the highlight of the weekend for me came very early when Cincinnati knocked off on a last-second field goal the Tennessee Titans and made it, and especially with Tannehill being the GOAT in the game, as in the GOAT, as in bad. By the way, too, I realized when you play those clips, sometimes I have an epiphany, Lubie, before the show gets started. And I hope you people are enjoying the program here on Ion Channel. Seems to be making progress, and we're very happy about that. And many things happening, and a lot of stuff that we didn't get to cover yesterday, we'll get into today, because we were obsessed with how phenomenal. And that was the talk of the town, was it not, Lubie? Everywhere that you went, every person I ran into. And this is why the NFL is generating so much money. They can afford to pay Roger Goodell $63 million to be unable to come up with the simplest of solutions, which I have right now. The simplest of solutions. It's not like it hasn't been suggested before, but I did a lot of careful thinking about this. We fixed the NBA lottery, and they refused to bite on what we had to offer them. And we also fixed the NFL lottery before. It's not really a lottery, but they reward futility in the National Football League. Yes. And so, I'm tired of it. I don't want to see teams tanking deliberately, trying to lose games. It may not be the players. We all know that. We've had that argument. Well, players don't go out on the field to deliberately lose. Yes, but when the front office compromises the team's talent and the pool on the roster is so bereft of talent that they literally have no shot. The Dolphins 3 years ago, Brian Flores could have been coach of the year, winning 5 games with that bunch of bag ladies. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
Okay, there was every effort made by the front office to sabotage that team and have them not win a single game.
100%.
And then did you see them gritting their teeth as they were smiling? Yeah, it's really good what Flores is doing here. He's winning a bunch of games with Fitzpatrick. And they're screaming, "Look, we want you to play Rosen." That was probably where the acrimony began between the Dolphins organization and Brian Flores.
I mean, right? It's where the acrimony began with me because I wanted them to play Rosen too.
Play Josh Rosen, lose every game, and get the number 1 overall pick.
You would have got Burrow. We'd probably be a lot happier. And I like Tua, but we'd probably be a lot happier with Burrow than Tua.
I would believe so, except that there's always this enigmatic tangent about the Miami Dolphins organization is could they ruin any quarterback? The only guy they really couldn't ruin was Marino, and they did their best to drive him out of town at the end of his career.
Never had talent ever and went to 1 Super Bowl. They did.
Yeah. Lousy offensive lines, couldn't run the football. I don't know that Danny really wanted to run the football.
No.
But, I mean, in the beginning, of course, he had brilliant talent around him. What are you talking about? I mean, so some really good players. You can't possibly say that you had, the Smurfs on the outside there.
No, the
Mark
first
Clayton and Mark Duper.
He had the marks. He had nice talent. The problem is he wasn't his prime. When he got to his prime, the late 80s into the 90s.
He got suspect. Yeah.
Outside juice. That's rough.
That's why he had a couple of 100 catches every year, O.J. McDuffie, because nobody else could catch the ball. Anyway, I did have an epiphany during the clips that you were playing that the only 2 guys they ever reference as an aside are named Lou and Smitty.
Yes. 100%.
So if you're new to the program and you're thinking, who the hell is Lou?
There isn't an actual Lou.
It's a fictional Lou. I mean, it's a symbolic Lou.
We don't have a Lou. Like, that's the funny thing.
And all elevator operators were named Smitty, were they not? Plus, the guy that always had the towel and the spit bucket in the gym. Hey, Smitty, get over here. The champ needs, a drink. What are you doing over there in the corner? And the guy is showing a picture of the old clip of him in the newspaper fighting some guy in the 1930s. Yeah, I went 12 with Jake. Well, they would have gone 15. Talking about LaMotta. All right, I have the solution. There was a lot of anxiety about the overtime period in the National Football League. Everybody was disappointed. Buffalo didn't get the ball. Everybody felt sorry for Josh Allen, the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills. And, he probably was deserving an opportunity to get a shot there, because the thing of it is, though, the simplest solution is always the one that gets bypassed. Is it not, Mike Lubitz? Would you agree with that? Because people have come up with all kinds of theories about how to fix the overtime. That the touchdown by the team that receives the ball is unfair to end the game because the team that wins the coin toss then goes in. They have the opportunity. They have the only opportunity to win the game without the other team having a shot. Is that fair? 2 teams played to a 60-minute draw, tie ball game, 60 minutes, a bloodbath. That was just a wild game. Everybody's exhausted. Both defenses are spent. And you had a feeling that Kansas City, if they got the ball, was probably going to march it in for the touchdown. And that was going to be it. Lights out, ball game over. Kansas City now hosting Cincinnati for the conference championship and the right to go to the Super Bowl. And people are screaming, Lubie, unfair.
What's funny is and I still am, I still believe what I said. I've heard the other side of it where, look, it is true. Buffalo had 13 seconds to stop them. If you can't stop them in 13 seconds, then what is...
I don't buy that. You know what? The game ended in a tie. So what should happen? The game ended in a tie, and what should happen? Whether it was 13 seconds, I mean, they could have thrown, a pass, and the guy breaks a couple of tackles, runs into the end zone there. They could have won the ball game, too. I mean, and at the same time, they could have been stopped just as easily. I don't think, you change the parameters of the game. It's just like the foul call at the end of a basketball game. If you're calling these fouls all during the game, then call it at the end of the game. And if you're not, then don't call it at the end of the game. I mean, how many times have we had that argument about calling penalties or fouls or anything of that nature? I mean, if all game long you're allowing something to go on, you can't call it at the end. And if all game long you're calling the same thing, then if it happens at the end of the ball game when it could be a deciding play, then you can't let it go. I mean, you just can't. You have to be consistent. That's all people are looking for. And now, with the amount of money that's on the line and the number of entities that have their tentacles and have infiltrated professional sports, something you never thought would happen, right? How taboo was it? Jimmy the Greek had to cover his mouth. Like he was sending in a play from the sidelines in the NFL, had to cover his mouth like he was having a mound conversation when he said, "Oh, and by the way, I like the Giants -3." Whoa, Phyllis, did you hear that? Right, Phyllis George, your hair was standing up, as if she just stuck her finger into his socket there. What? Gambling? Are you kidding me? Gambling on our show on CBS this morning or whatever the heck that was? NFL Today. That was the name of the show. Leslie was on that show quite frequently. Leslie Visser.
Yes.
All right. So here, you've heard a lot of different theories about what they should do to fix it. The same is true of college football, and I believe my theory, which is, it's not unique. It just seems so obvious that this is the solution, and this is not a joke. I have the solution for the NFL overtime, but it's going to take a little bit of the drama out of what everybody is upset about, which is the coin toss to begin the period. Because the game is not really starting over again. It's a continuation of a game. You're trying to decide the game. So now you have to add time on the clock to decide this ball game. So I don't want to give the logic away right away because it's so simple. It's a joke that people are having this argument and they're going crazy. And you know what? You start talking to somebody about it and you can always find a flaw. I was talking, you'll find this kind of comical, Lubie, but I've been living in this new place, I guess a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
So I go for the walk of life usually after the show. So I'm gone for about an hour and 20 minutes. And during that period of time, it's not uncommon for the Mustang to get her day started. So there's nobody home except the two dogs, right? Skippy, Holly. Now, Mustang has been leaving the back door open. She doesn't lock the back door for some reason. I don't know why. I guess, maybe she goes for a bike ride or whatever. Wants to come
to a backyard or does it go to like a street?
It's a little fenced-in area. I wouldn't call it a yard.
No, but I'm saying it's fenced in and it's like your property. Like people.
Yeah, this place here, I don't know that anybody's busting in. And as my friend Sean Mack said yesterday, you know what? If somebody wants to break into your house, guess what? They're probably going to break into your house. The fact that you lock that little notch on the door there, that almost anybody, anybody with any inclination whatsoever towards criminal activity could probably pick that lock with a nail file, no? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Or take a hammer and just hammer the thing off. Nobody would even notice. What? Did you hear a noise? No. But anyway, so I insisted yesterday. I said I knew Mustang was leaving while I was on my walk, and I insisted that she locked the back door. I didn't really insist, but I just said, you know what? You really ought to lock the back door here. I don't know why. I just feel more comfortable if you do. It's wide open. You can see through the window. You can see probably no one's there. Yep. So just in case the oddball with all the wacky stuff that goes on today, people shoving people onto their train tracks at subway stations, people shooting at each other here in South Florida on the highway, right? Every day. It's odd that you could get a newscast without, well, there it is, another one, right? Highway shootings now are big, as if we were back in the days of the cocaine cowboys, where all of a sudden you would see a machine gun come out of the window of a van and start spraying. But it's not funny, but that's the way it was down here. It was total chaos in South Florida. And I don't know that that's happened in other places. Are there highway shootings in abundance in other areas of the country? I think we lead the league here in South Florida.
Yeah. Are you
Every
kidding
day,
me?
right? Somebody shooting at somebody in a car.
Yeah,
I know it's
somewhere else. Here, it's like, yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. 4 guys shot on I-75. They're going to close it down for a couple of hours. I would suggest an alternate route. That's your average traffic report. It begins with 4 guys shot. So anyway, I usually take a key with me for the front door when I go on my walk of life, just in case the Stang splits while I'm gone. And yesterday I was on the phone with a friend of mine talking about, when you're trying to, see where this business is going and you're having to get a bunch of things together and there are a lot of great ideas out there, but none of them have actually become tangible in terms of a printing press for cash, which is obviously what we're looking for in this racket. You sometimes get distracted. So I walked out of the house without the key. And then as I was arriving after my little 4-mile junket, I realized, holy shit, I'm going to be locked out of the house. Now, what are my options? I don't bring my phone with me. No means of communication.
Phone. Oh, no.
And remember, you don't remember the basketball player Jerry Lucas by any chance, do you?
Yeah,
Ohio State, and of course, longtime star in the NBA, Hall of Famer, right? Top 50 player, Jerry Lucas. He was a center at 6'8".
Yes. I interviewed him. I had him on our Defo radio.
Oh, you did? Oh, great. And you know what's great about him?
Right.
He's a memory technique guy, and he could memorize the entire New York City phone book, like the Manhattan phone book. He would know. You go, Jose Garcia. Yeah. He'd go, yeah, that would be 212-357-6652. You're like, what? And you look in the book. There it is. Jose Garcia. 212-357-6. I can't even remember the number, and I just gave it to you. And Lucas knew them all, right? T.C. Chen. No, he's a golfer. Well, whoever it was, you could name anybody, and it was like the amazing Kreskin, like a mentalist. He was fantastic. But back in the day, see, I don't know that you ever lived this period of time in your life, Lubie, where you knew everybody's phone number. Now I have to think twice about my own phone number. I really do.
Exactly. When I was young, because I didn't get a cell phone until I was like 17, 18 years old.
Oh, okay.
So
but you knew a lot of phone numbers. I realized, you know what? If pressed, I mean, the proverbial, I don't like to make this reference because everybody gets up in arms, but the proverbial gun to your head, right? That's a Boog Shambi thing. If I had a gun to my head, gun to your head, I still don't know if I could give you the Mustang's number.
I was going to say, do you know the Mustang's number?
Well, and the reason I bring this up is because so I'm locked down in a house. I don't have a cell phone. I don't really know many of the neighbors here. I mean, I just hey, how you doing? Like those are the new people. Yeah, did you hear their dogs barking all night? You don't know what kind of aspersions are being cast your way, right? When people are talking about the new neighbors, they seem to be pretty friendly here where I moved into. But if I borrow a cell phone, do I really want to dial a wrong number, trying to dial my wife right in front of the guy who loaned me the cell phone, who I don't really know? And then start fumbling, trying to juxtapose a couple of numbers. I mean, I may as well just go play, the Powerball. Try and put those numbers together.
Jesse's number, Jesse hasn't had the same number for like 2 decades. Like I've had the same number since I've never changed my number. So like,
I couldn't even give you the fourth number. I couldn't even give you the third number in my son's phone number. But you shouldn't feel bad about that or badly about that because it's not something that you need to know anymore.
No, I'm just asking because like there's some numbers I know because they were the same since I was like in college, so they've stuck. But anything like the only reason I know Shirley's number is because it's like the password to something in our house. Yeah. Other than that, I wouldn't know it. So I'm just curious.
I recognize numbers as they come in.
Yeah.
Which, okay, I know that's the bank, so I must have bounced a check. Cops, I can kind of, the lawyer is calling. I mean, I kind of recognize that. My accountant, you got a problem here. They got a letter from the IRS sitting on my desk. Want me to send it to you? Or you want to come in and pick it up? Problem numbers, I recognize right away. And, racetracks and things like that. Of course, clients on the show, I should recognize the numbers, but could I recite them back to you once I see them? Probably not. So I end up jogging over to my neighbor's house, hoping the one guy that I really knew here well is, of course, the great Sean McNamara, who he's partners with Frank Tellerico in the Ocean Manor Hotel, Casa Calabria, Piazza Italia, has a lot of interest here. He owns like 6 places in here. The guy made a ton of money in spam email, if you can imagine. Had a can of spam on his desk, yeah. And he's gone on to other businesses and other business ventures, but, guy's worth a pretty good taste. Nice. Pretty good piece of coin. So I figure he's probably home, right? I mean, this isn't a guy that goes like to a job every day. And he has the Mustang's number in his phone. So I figure that's my best bet. And I roll over there, and what happens? While I'm there, he fields no less than a half a dozen phone calls, and all anybody wants to talk about is the National Football League. And then everybody's debating how they should decide overtime, right? So we're talking about the various scenarios. And, of course, the first one is that the other team should have gotten the ball after the touchdown scored, right? Simple as that. But what if they come back, and then now they have an advantage over the other team that just scored? Buffalo would have had an advantage over Kansas City in that they know they need a touchdown. Yeah. So if you're in overtime, let's say you're the first team to have the ball, and you get the ball into 25 and you go 3 and out, you're punting, correct? Whereas the team now that needs to score a touchdown knows that if it's a 4th down and 10 from the 25, guess what? They're going for it. That's a serious edge, is it not? The team that has the ball last actually knows what they have to do. Now, if the other team had only kicked a field goal and they had gotten possession, then they know that, A, all they need is a field goal to keep the game going, and B, if they get a touchdown, game is over. So that changes the strategic dynamics of the game.
Yes.
All right. So all of that is great. And people love the drama. Oh, we're going overtime. Okay. So we run another 5 minutes of commercials. We have more analysts come on and tell you what they think about the game. They get the referee out there as if they were starting the game from scratch, Lubie.
They do.
See?
They started over.
Right. It's not a new ball game. But not only is it not a new ball game, but it's not a new ball game that should be played by a completely different set of rules. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, so the obvious is sitting there, and it is what? What do you think this is all leading to?
I mean, you've told me different theories, so I presume you've told me an overtime theory over the years. I can't recall it, so I'm actually very curious. I'm waiting.
This is the simplest and most equitable solution. All right, and that is just pick up the game where it left off. Period. Simple as that. The team that has the ball, if it's 3rd and 20 when they have the ball in regulation and the game ends, then it's 3rd and 20 when overtime starts. They don't need to have a coin toss, nothing. They take a couple of minute break there, give everybody a breather, come back out, and it's sudden death from that point on.
So it is sudden death. So it is sudden death. Still.
Sudden death, yeah, because the game was on. It's just a continuation of the same game, is it not? It's overtime. It's extra time. The score doesn't change, and the situation doesn't change. Why should it be a brand new situation, completely different set of circumstances and rules? What is the purpose of that? You just played 60 minutes to get to this point. Why doesn't it just continue from there? Now, the flaws are many. I mean, obviously, both teams should have a chance to get the football if you're gonna start from scratch. Shouldn't be decided by a coin toss, correct? Okay, so if you're going to start all over again, it's unfair for one team not to have a chance to get the ball just because the other team scored a touchdown.
That's my sentiment. Yes.
Okay. It's also flawed to go ahead and say, well, automatically the other team is going to get the ball because that means whoever gets the ball first is actually at a bit of a disadvantage because, A, they have to put up points to avoid losing on a field goal, and B, it creates a situation where if they do score a touchdown, then the team that gets the ball last knows that they have a 4-down situation in all circumstances, which the original team that got the ball didn't have that advantage. So, what would be the flaw if you just continued the game from where it was? In other words, okay, let's say they got stopped at the goal line and that time ran out, and they still have 1 down left. Well, they have 1 more shot to punch it in, and if they continue, then fine. Then that's the game. That's the way the game was going when it was being played in regulation, and that's the way that it ended in overtime. And I don't see what the problem would be. And this way, whoever had the ball has the ball coming out of the chute. They have the same circumstances they had when they left. So if they want to strategize that way, saying, well, we're going to go to overtime. In other words, I guess a great example would have been that Raiders-Chargers game, right? Where the Raiders were thinking about taking a knee before that idiot Brandon Staley called a timeout and take his team right out of the playoffs. Boy, did that guy make some bonehead mistakes. But I mean, show me the flaw in that, Mike Lubitz. It's a continuation of a game. They're having to add extra time to the clock, and the only differential is because it's only going to be a 10-minute period, and then they're going to take another break. It wouldn't matter what the timing was on the fourth quarter. It's going to be sudden death. Whoever scores first is the winner of the game. And the team that was in possession of the ball, I mean, however they maneuvered it to be in possession of the ball, whatever the circumstances were, guess what? They had the ball when the game ended, and they have the ball in the same set of circumstances when the game is restarted. What do you think, Lubie? I don't think you have much to say, but I'm going to run this by Jason Cole when he joins us.
I'm curious what a Jason Cole says, and then also in after hours, we're going to have Frank Schwab, 2 guys that cover the NFL for over 2 decades. I'm curious what they would say. I don't have a problem with it, but then it's not overtime anymore. So
yes, it is. It's extra time to decide the game, and the only thing that changed is they're saying, just like you would in a park, right? I mean, your guys got to go. It's 4-4 in the second set, and you're playing some tennis, and the guy says, look, I got to go. I got some work to do back at the office. And you say, okay, whoever wins the next game wins.
Yeah.
Right? Is it an official set? No, but I mean, it's exactly what overtime is. It's more time added to the game that was already taking place. It's not a new game. It's not a new set of rules. It's more time added as in overtime because you couldn't finish the game during regulation. Now, the one thing that changes is next score wins. How simple is that?
I don't mind it. I'm curious what others would say. Like, we're used to this.
What would others say? I mean, there's no argument. It is the best and most obvious and most equitable solution to the overtime situation. I gave this great thought. I was on the throne for like 10 minutes reading the New York Post, and I realized it hit me like an epiphany, much like the Cliffs with the Smitty and the Lou. What's the most fair thing and equitable thing to do? Now, how does that change the way they're playing the game in regulation at the end? I don't know that it does, right? Do you really want to start overtime with like a 4th and 10 from your own 40-yard line? Probably not. So you're not going to just deliberately like take a knee there and bring up a 4th down so you can get into the overtime period. So you actually have to continue playing the regular
right to the end.
regulation time all the way to the end without ever considering playing for a tie. Without ever considering that. So it even enhances the regulation period because now you don't have a thing where everybody shrugs their shoulders, Brady takes a knee, and hey, we're going to overtime. I tell you what, that coin toss is really going to be something, Joe. It takes all of that clown element out of the situation, all of the inequity, all of the unfairness, all of the seemingly unethical rules that are being made where one team is getting completely hosed.
Yeah.
Now, the team, if they don't get the ball, in other words, let's say the Bills had the ball at the end of regulation, whether, in fact, at the end of regulation, the Bills would have gotten the ball on the kickoff by my system of doing
it would have just kept going. The Chiefs scored to end the end regulation.
They scored at the very end to tie the ball game up. And
the Bills
now,
Chiefs.
going to overtime, the Bills would have gotten the ball, and if they score, guess what? That was a continuation of the game, and because it's overtime, it's it's sudden death, and so anybody who scores wins the game. First team to scores wins the game. Totally fair.
I think it's interesting. I'm trying to think of. That's what I'm trying to think of. If any of our sports treat overtime like continuation, and none of them do. They all
baseball does. Like, I mean, except that
baseball sort of feels like it's continuation. Every other sport, all right, regulation's done. Now we move into a separate period. Which it is a little weird that we do that. So I'm curious what like the NFL heads like Cole.
But you couldn't do it in hockey and basketball. It would be irrelevant except for who gets possession of the ball. But I mean, in hockey, obviously they're going to decide that by dropping the puck. But I mean, you wouldn't want to put you couldn't situate and stage exact circumstances of what happened at the end of
really hard to do it
end of the game. That doesn't make any sense. But in football, it makes perfect sense. There's,
everything is.
I don't see. You know what, people? If you have an argument about that, you're welcome to join us here on the chat line.
I don't have one. I'm curious to see if someone does. I feel like people will because there's always that. Well, this is what would be wrong with it.
Well, what's wrong with it? The game ended with Buffalo would have been receiving the football, and guess what? If you want to go to overtime and decide a game by sudden death, first team to score, then that was their circumstance. And that was maybe the advantage that they had because they gave up a game-tying score right at the end of the game. Well, guess what? They were leading, just a couple of minutes and seconds before that. So are they not entitled to get the ball next? They would have gotten the ball next in regulation. So why not just end the game right there? That would work. And if they don't move the ball and get a field goal, guess what? Then, Kansas City would have had its chance because, that's the way the game shook out in regulation. What's wrong with the continuation of exactly what was going on in the game in regulation and putting it into the overtime period only with the stipulation now that the first team that scores wins? How is that unfair? It's not.
I don't know.
It's a continuation of a game, and you needed extra time to decide it, and that's the way it goes. If Kansas City had been in a tie situation and Buffalo, had, a chance to respond there, let's say there was, a minute left when Kansas City scored. They would have had the same chance to respond, and if they scored, they would have won. Correct? So that's the way I see it, Lubie. I think I've solved the problem. Call Goodell, will you? Call Raj.
Sure you so.
And see what he has to say about that.
I don't have... I'm trying to think of the negative because people always have.
There's no negative. It's the most logical. I mean, every other situation has a giant negative. There's something wrong with every other situation that they've used, including the baloney that they do in college football. What's wrong with just continuing the same principle? Game continues as it was in overtime in the college game, and the first team to score wins. Period. Much better way of solving the problem. It's no change of strategy, nothing. I mean, it's just You continue the game the way it was going, and the way that game was going. Obviously, Buffalo had all the momentum, and probably was going to score on their first possession, and they would be in the conference championship game, and perhaps rightfully so. So there you go, Lubie. The wrong team is in the conference title.
Well, but that's what people are going to say is the Chiefs didn't get their shot. But Andy Man brings up a good point. It's what you said.
But they had their shot in regulation. This is a continuation.
It would make you push it more at the end. Where I thought the Rams, because remember they ran that QB sneak first, and then they went for it. A lot of teams, a lot of the time, are like, let's just take it to overtime and exhale. It would make it so you would never do that. You're like, oh, there's no way. Like
you would play the last play of the game as if it was, the play that was going to lead you into the overtime period. So you would be less inclined to just run the ball straight into the line of scrimmage and hope not to fumble or take a knee. It would put pressure on the team that had the ball to go ahead and do something with the ball at the end of regulation.
When Andy Man says it here, let's say you're the Chiefs and you score and there's no time left, but we're not overtime yet. You may go for 2 because you're like, you know what? Our
exactly. Well, not in that spot. They kicked the field goal to tie the game.
Well, you may have gone for the touchdown in that spot. Like you may have thought more about what the hell you're doing because normally you're just going to have a shot with a coin toss or whatever. Now you're like, you know what? We still have the ball. If you score at the end of the game and instead of going for 1, you may go for 2 to win it. I don't think I think it's an interesting solution. I'm curious what the people who come.
It takes the whole element of the coin toss out of it.
It means the coin toss doesn't decide the game. The game decides the game.
And the game was being decided in regulation, so you couldn't decide it then. Why not just continue the game, right? We're playing into overtime. That's the way it goes. And the sudden death thing is kind of like the tiebreaker, rule in tennis, where set ends up 6-6, and now you're going to play the 7-point tiebreaker, which takes the hideous possibility of having one of those. Moves where a guy plays like 60 games, like they did in that Wimbledon matchup, right? What was that? Nicholas Mahut and John Isner. Remember that? They played like for 3 days.
Yes, yeah.
And the final set was like 68-66. I mean, well, what a joke.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Because nobody can break that tall guy's serve, right? Every set that guy's involved in. John Isner, the American, he's like 6'10".
Yep.
We had him on a show. Well, I don't think you were working with me when we had Isner on a show a while back, but very delightful gentleman. And, he's had a couple of decent seasons more so later in his career than he did even earlier when it looked like nobody could ever beat this guy because you couldn't break his serve. But, I mean, there's nothing wrong with maybe tweaking how the conclusion comes about, right? At the end of 12 rounds, they go to the scorecards. Is that fair in boxing? Probably not. But what are you going to have the guys do? Fight like 50 rounds until one guy falls down? They used to do that. Right?
They used to.
Right? Here's and this is round. Imagine calling those fights. Here's Jack Johnson. This is round number 106. I tell you what, Ferdy. I mean, we got some kind of brawl going here tonight at the arena, at the old Sunnyside Guard. All right, good being with you here. What do you think, people? That's the simplest, most equitable solution to the whole thing. Right, we trying to get Goodell to realize that tanking was a joke when the Dolphins were tanking and all these teams were tanking and they're trying to get the number 1 pick to get the quarterback. And so that if you invert the draft, in other words, if the team that just misses the playoffs gets the number 1 overall pick, why wouldn't that be a better solution than having the team that deliberately goes out there and has organizational sabotage and tries to lose by getting rid of all of their decent personnel, making sure a lousy coach is in place, instructing him to make sure that, I mean, maybe that's where Brian Flores got defiant. Did he tell Stephen Ross, this billionaire, hey, stick it up your ass, Steve. Take your money, shove it right up your ass.
Right.
I'm not deliberately going to tell my team to lose. All right?
They did. Yes, they told him, play Rosen, and he said, screw you.
Exactly. He's got this like 90-year-old
quarterback. This is what we've heard.
Ryan Fitzpatrick out there playing his eyeballs out. And guess what? You know what? As much of a ripoff as Dolphin season tickets have been, and I'm sure a lot of people around the country may feel this way about their team, although there's probably more affection and less indifference in other cities. Would you agree, Lubie? Even guys that are resigned to having like lousy teams forever. And it doesn't really work, right? Because you don't necessarily get a team to be championship caliber by constantly giving them top picks. So witness who's having a perfectly awful season in the NBA once again? The Sacramento Kings.
Kings, and I was going to say, I think he's talking about the Kings. Like, because even
NBA's punching bag, right?
Yeah, even the Cavs are better.
Even the Cavs are having a great year this year. They're having a Cinderella season. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they're a team that without LeBron is always bad. They've sort of figured out a little bit where the Kings never. They had that like 3 or 4 year run with Weber and Bibby, and before and after that, it's been total disaster.
Yeah, I mean, they even tore down the statue of Lonnie Divac
Like
outside the arena. Plus, Sacramento is really like a horseshit town anyway. It's not really California.
Town. Yeah,
right? Wasn't Kevin Johnson the disgraced mayor there, and then he got a bond the ex-Phoenix Sun guard? Became like the mayor of Sacramento.
Yes.
And then what happened with him? What was that? Sex scandals? What the hell was that? Monetary fraud? I'm not sure.
No idea.
What form of scandal he was involved in. It was very, very much Jim Baker-esque. All right, we're coming back with more. Later on in the program, Jason Cole is going to join us here on the program. So I'll run that by him. I don't know. I've been a sports fan my whole life. I mean, I love playing. I was out on the tennis courts last night. Had a really good time. It was a beautiful evening to play, even though people here really misjudge what cold is in South Florida. I mean, I know it hit like the 40s at night.
It feels cold in the house, but like once you get, like I was walking outside yesterday, I was like, oh my God, it's so cold. And then once I got going, I'm like, yeah, it's beautiful. Like it's not.
You would have thought like when we hit the courts that iguanas were falling out of trees because of board. People are like in overcoats. It's crazy. And that's the sporting crowd. Can you imagine what it was like for some of the old geezers here on A1A by the beach? I don't have my coat. I'm going to send for it. It was nice out. Just, absolutely a beautiful scene. And it's good. But I mean, the point being, I love playing any game. I'm glad I can still get out there and do it. And so I thoroughly enjoy sports and, in thinking about the equitable solutions to problems that everybody's kvetching about this. Sean Mack, the whole time I'm waiting for my keys to arrive, which, by the way, you know what the solution was? Mustang was at like the Galleria Mall, which is about, I don't know, probably a 20-minute jog from here.
Yeah.
Traffic, maybe even longer by the time you find a parking space.
Yeah.
I was going to take that space, right? I had my blinker on. That's another reason people get shot here in South Florida, parking situations. Anyway, she's at a mall, right? So the solution was call an Uber driver, and the guy delivered the keys to the house.
Okay.
How about that? She didn't have to end her shopping trip. And I was talking football with Sean Mack, and we were going over all of these different scenarios. And like I said, he's fielding call after call. Yeah, well, you know what? They should do this. You know what? They should do that. And it just hit me. And this has been suggested. Just continue the game in the exact circumstance it was. And you have the perfect situation. Only the new curtain that hovers over the game is that the first score wins. Right? First one to 21, my friend. First one to 21. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here. Just getting started. Jason Cole, great football analyst and insider, will have his thoughts on what was a terrific weekend in the NFL. We can't get away from it, right? That's all anybody wants to talk about. You walk into the grocery store, you see somebody that looks like they never watched a sporting event in their life, and what's the first thing they say to you? Boy, was that some weekend of football.
Yes, everyone said that. I talked to my mom about it for 45 minutes. We talked with Shirley's parents for like 20 minutes while Shirley sat there going, who cares about this stuff? And I'm like, everyone does, babe.
My friend Big Jack is out there playing tennis against a bunch of washed-up rabbis. He just mows them down one after another. And what was on the mind of the entire South Florida rabbinical? Oh, boy, was that some weekend of football. Of course, those guys are probably betting the games, right? Yes. Do the most Orthodox of Jews gamble? Is that permissible? Because that's one thing about being Jewish I really like, is that, like, we don't mind, like, getting a little bit out there, a little, existential.
Israelis?
Yeah.
Please push it, boy.
Right. And you can still love God and have 200 on the 49ers this week.
As long as you go to services and you're kosher and you make sure you pray, they push it.
A friend was telling me a story about a guy that took the church's congregational money. Like we always joke about the rabbi that went and got the pick six at Santa Anita, Rabbi Philip Book. Don't want to name names.
And you already always name his name.
Yeah, I mean, he gave me bar mitzvah lessons. I wish he would have eaten a little less of the, herring with onions or whatever that is. Oh my God, man! How about a toothbrush, Rabbi? And there's a lot of that kind of thing going on in a bar mitzvah lesson. Anyway, so this guy, he takes the church's money, and he was such a degenerate sicko when it came to the stock market. He goes ahead and invests their money in the stock market as if it meant nothing, right? Like it wasn't any kind of a problem. So they find out about it, and they eventually, cut him loose from the church. He's not allowed back in there. But it turned out he made him $500,000.
I was gonna say, what if he makes the money? Like,
Made
if
the
you
money,
lose
so
the
they never
money-
press charges.
Okay, he can't have his job because it was wrong, but they won't press charges.
He can't buy a way into the Easter egg hunt. Are you kidding me? Now your kid is banned there. I don't care that she found a blue egg. Susie, give it a prize and get him out of here, right? Security. So there's a guy that made him $500,000.
Yeah, who cares how? As long as he makes the money. The problem is if he
I don't know.
loses,
I mean, what's ethically wrong with taking the congregation's money if
if
you
you
make the money?
steal it and you lose it at the track, that's one thing. But like, if you're isn't that the point? Isn't that what they do with pension funds? They don't
Yeah,
sit
that's true.
there,
Yeah,
they take it and they invest it. Now, if they lose it, you're pissed. But if they make money, how are you mad when they make the money? Like, that's a weird turn of events. Like,
guess what, Henry? There's no pension.
Yeah, that's a different
Guy
story.
just retired, bought a cabin in Tennessee somewhere. He's going to live the good life, but obviously, he's not going to be earning any more capital. All right, well, we're coming. How do we come up with these scenes out of it? Lubie, you know what's funny? There is no good argument against my, my situation.
You've done this in the past with other things, and then the minute we got an expert on, they had like 6 different things that they thought was wrong.
Because they're locked into stupid conventional thinking.
I'm just curious. I'm not funny. I don't mind.
You know what's wrong with this? It's too obvious. That's why no one's talking about it. It's just so obvious, right? What is overtime in the NFL? The only condition that changes is it's sudden death. All right.
Yes.
Next guy to score wins. How many times have you decided that in the park? Right? You're playing 1-on-1. Okay, man. Next score wins.
Yeah. When you got to get
you're
going.
playing full court, everybody's getting tired, even though you're playing to 15, and each team has like 10 and 11.
Yeah,
you say, you know what, next score wins. I gotta go, man. The kid's crying at home, and the wife's home.
When you get older and you have things you got to do, 100%.
So I mean, this is even more perfectly situated for it because in a football game, it's a war of attrition, my friend.
There you
go. And the fact, I mean. Who cares how Kansas City scored? Well, they shouldn't have let them score. Well, of course they shouldn't have let them score. It was a bozoic move to let them score with 13 seconds to go. Almost any team in the world would have stopped that.
Yes. I don't give a shit. Yeah.
It made it even more inequitable that they never got the ball because both defenses were completely out of gas in that game, as well they should be, and as evidenced by the fact that 42 points were scored in the last minute and 30 seconds of the game. And each quarterback racked up, like almost 200 yards passing in the final 2 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
There are quarterbacks that don't have 200-yard games. Well, maybe not in the NFL anymore. He touched me. Pass interference being fairly liberally applied here. I mean, some really ugly calls on that. You know what? It took it away from the officials, but I don't. How could you not explore that? Shouldn't the players, be the ones that decide this? By the way, I mean, the players were in favor of a rule like that. Then I would think that would be the way to go. And how could the fans be upset with it? Right? Guess what? You have the same horror. If the other team was on the threshold of scoring at the end of regulation, you're faced with that same horror when the game restarts. Well, why shouldn't they be back in that position again as the continuation begins? And the game can't go on forever, so the next score wins. It's that simple, Lubie.
There you go. You did it.
Turn the clock off.
You did it.
Lubie, I'm telling you. See,
I know
you were locked in the same conventional wisdom.
I think it's a decent idea. I'm just
Jason Cole. Okay, I guarantee you, he thinks this is an idiotic idea.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mind it. I think it's interesting. I hate their overtime. I like college's overtime, but no one wants that. Okay,
let's say a game is suspended. Okay, in Major League Baseball. See, the situations aren't the same because the games aren't structured the same.
Baseball is different. Yeah.
Okay, but what happens when a game is suspended? Okay. Guess what? When they start the game the next day, what do? Okay, there's guys on second and third, one way, and it's a 1-2 count.
Yeah.
You're resuming what was going on before.
Yeah, football doesn't do that. Football will just postpone a game and then
they start with a whole new cockamamie ball game. I mean, what kind of stupid conditions that they talk about the penalty kick being a joke in soccer, which it is.
Yeah, it is.
This is worse. It is. I mean, the way it is. Okay, heads or tails there, Bernie. They don't even have a real coin. I mean, and who knows what the guy's really calling? And let's face it, any referee knows that whatever side you put the coin on to flip the coin in the air, it's coming up the opposite side. That was true of flipping baseball cards back in the day. That's why that stupid matching game was the dumbest game ever invented in the history of gambling. I think we've discussed this before.
Probably.
Dumbest ever, right? Where, a guy would throw a card down, and if it landed on the face, then you had to throw a face, and then you would get both cards.
Okay.
But, I mean, whatever side you put the card on, it was coming down. I guarantee you it's flawless, like 100 out of 100, Lubie. You take a baseball card and flip it, and whatever side you start out flipping it on, it will come up on the opposite side. 100 out of 100 times.
It's interesting. Well, it's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo. If you did the math, you know where it's going to end up. Like, that wasn't random. You go back and forth a certain amount of times that you can set it up ahead. So, like,
the game would have very fairly started with Buffalo receiving a kickoff because at the end of regulation, that was the position they were in. Period. Now, first score wins. So, you know what? Tough luck on Kansas City. They shouldn't have allowed Buffalo to score and get ahead by 3 points at the end of the ball game. I mean, you could say the same thing. How are they allowing touchdown passes, on a 4th and 13 from the 25-yard line?
Yes.
And even after they overcome that, they're allowing another touchdown from 20 yards out.
Yes.
As time was running off the clock.
Running down, yep.
Just as bad as, Buffalo allowing a guy to go 35, 40 yards. I mean, you break a couple of tackles and guess what? You're running for the other 20, especially when they're trying to protect deep. So you can't use those kind of circumstances and say, well, sure, that shouldn't have happened. It did. And, that's why I feel like we have the fairest solution. Have I been on this soapbox too long here? There's like a 45-minute rant.
Go. You're like really into this.
But people will say there's something wrong with it. I don't see what's wrong with it. It's the most equitable solution. The only thing wrong with it is, guess what? The game is going to end on the first score. But that's the way overtime is set up or was meant to be anyway.
It's going to be what's wrong with it now. I mean, that's what they're going to say is not both teams get the ball.
But it isn't, because at least it wasn't a complete change. In other words, the game changed, the dynamic of the game, the way it was flowing, changed completely once they got to this new cockamamie period, right? Instead of Buffalo getting the ball as they should have because they fought to be in that position, they ended up in a dead heat, and it would have been their ball. All right? So is that not fair? Yes, it is. Now, the only thing that's changed is the next score is going to win it, but that's overtime.
That's what ends up happening anyways, yeah.
Right. So there you have it, as Gordon Soley would say.
He did it. Yay.
So long from the Sunshine State. Gordon Soley here with a sensational performance by the Funk Brothers. Nobody thought they could beat the tag team of Dusty Rhodes and the Iron Sheik. I'm Gordon Soley saying so long from the Sunshine State. That still is the greatest tag out, signature of all time, is it not? So long.
Oh, yeah.
From the Sunshine State. All right, we're not saying so long. We're just getting going here. Ion Channel, great place to be. I heard it was a wild celebration over there.
Good. Happy birthday, Jack. Hopefully
naked people bouncing off the walls there, Jello shots, lots of stuff going on there, inebriants of all forms. I mean, they were coming out on a platter, Lubie, like they were a tray of knishes at a bar mitzvah.
Good.
Drugs, everything. It looked like the Playboy Mansion over there at Ion Channel in the studios. Way to go, Jack, man. Way to celebrate.
Drugs. But I hope it was a great time, and a happy birthday for Jack.
Well, I mean, if it was that way, where was our invitation?
We're smart.
No, they're pretty straight-laced over there at Ion Channel. They're really buttoned down. They do a great job. That's why we're as successful as we are, as quickly as we have been in this audio and video streaming venture. All right, we're coming back with more. I'm Jeff Deforrest. He is Mike Lubitz, the great Lubansky, and Hialeah Park. Wow, I got some details. It's Frank Fiore. This thing is going to be available, too, on pay-per-view. I don't know if there's sold out of tickets yet.
Okay.
A thing called, I don't know if it's Fight TV or just Fight.
Okay.
Streaming network. But and our man Jimmy Greasehopper was working for something that sounds very similar. So maybe he's involved in this thing. Anyway, I believe it's a pay-per-view at like $15 a pop. So at that point, I would just go down there, buy a ticket, and see if there are any available at HialeahPark.com. Press conference today, a big one. And they have all of these terrific Cuban fighters that are on the card. They've all made great inroads already into the pros. And, some of these guys got started a little late. So if they're like 6-0, that really represents much more of a veteran fighter because they were fighting in the high-level Do they still have a great amateur program over in Cuba? How do they sustain that?
I think so. Somehow they
Boxing
do
program.
the sports, boxing and baseball. They seem to continuously be successful. I don't get it.
Yeah, a lot of great fighters over the years. There was always speculation as to which one of them, especially Teofilo Stevenson, would have been great as a pro. We've seen many come over here, including Cuban heavyweights like King Kong Ortiz, who got a real funky. I watched the end of that fight he had at the Hard Rock. He fought at the Hard Rock. Luis King Kong Ortiz
Yeah.
against a guy who very briefly held the IBF heavyweight championship. Martin, I think, is his name. I don't. They're like a bunch of them, but this is like Clarence Martin or something. Anyway, and Martin had knocked him down 2 times, and somehow he ended up getting like a technical knockout. But they didn't show what Ortiz did to get that. They just showed where this guy Martin was entangled in the ropes there. And the next thing you know, the ref is waving it off. But anyway, the point being, a lot of Cuban fighters of distinction. These are really going to be some exciting fights. So if there are tickets available, it's HialeahPark.com. If you can't get a ticket, it's going to be available on pay-per-view, so you can check that out as well. I'm sure the details are there on the website, HialeahPark.com. And it's Friday night, and it's going to be a ton of action. You know what? I mean, you can't cancel a trip to Las Vegas. We discussed that on the show, last week, right?
It'd be something you'd be sad you're missing for Vegas, which is pretty impressive because it's Vegas.
You know what? If it was Tyson Holyfield, I don't know that I would blow off a Vegas trip to be in attendance live. They could bring back Muhammad Ali from the grave and have him fight Smoking Joe Frazier. Thriller in Manila. I might have to blow it off for that. But who could have anticipated that was going to happen, right? I mean, it was 2 guys that were semi-washed up at the time. In reality, I mean, it was a great fight and very dramatic, but nonetheless, I mean, neither Ali or Frazier were, anywhere near their best of selves at that point in time, which maybe is what made it for a great fight. But great night of boxing action. Lubie's aware of it. I mean, he's been there seeing the Hialeah scene. So, and I'm hoping if you were ever going to schnorr for tickets for something, this would be it, Lubie.
I'm working on it. It's Shirley's birthday weekend, so I got to figure out what the hell we're doing this weekend.
What better thing to do than take your babe to the fights, man? It was made for that, right? There was always a guy ringside. How many times have you been staring at the hot blonde ringside on any fight that's ever on TV?
That's the thing.
Right? And you're thinking, wow, where did that guy get that babe? Meanwhile, guys are getting knocked out. Blood is being splattered all over the camera lens. And all you're doing is just focused in completely. It's made for taking, taking the babe out to the fights. So, and under the stars there at Hialeah Park on a beautiful evening. Are you kidding me, Lubie? This couldn't be any better.
I'm all in.
Not going to be hot and schwitzing out there, and yet no rain. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. All of a sudden, I'm Weaver the Weatherman on this.
Yeah, you're on it.
Anyway, I hope you guys get a chance to go there. It's going to be a lot of fun. Leon Margulies, of course, Warriors Boxing. Louis the Cubist. Louis is the king of the Cuban boxing cycle that's gone on here in the United States. I mean, Louis had more good fighters. So he's got some more. And you don't hear these guys brag that often about it. I mean, boxing promoters are inclined to hyperbole.
I was going to say that's how they do.
But Leon will give you the straight scoop. I mean, Louis is a little bit more excitable when it comes to these guys, right? We've had him on our shows, Louis the Cubist. And he's brought over some great ones, man. I mean, really like terrific fighters here that he has handled. So had a great career. And he says these guys, it's the best new group that he's seen overall of Cuban fighters. So all on display, yeah. So going to be a lot of fun. That's Hialeah Park, and it's happening on Friday night. All right, we're coming back with more. Jason Cole going to join us. See, he braces himself. Tell him I have the solution to the overtime problem.
Yes. He's always.
He goes peekaboo right away. Okay, Defo.
He does. He always does.
Lay your ridiculous theory on me.
And he always has a response.
Well, you can't do that.
Always.
Should we just skip the interview and I'll just do it for us?
I'm curious because I can't think of the negative, and I wonder if Cole comes
there
up
is no negative. It's fair. The game ended in a situation where, I mean, it's like picking up the next episode of Ray Donovan, right? Don't they pick up the story where it was? Yes, of course. Does it end when somebody gets shot? Yes. That's it. Uh-oh. I don't want to make a bad Alec Baldwin joke. We're coming back with more in a moment here on Ion Channel, the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Michael Lubie, Lubitz on a fine Tuesday. And we'll be back with more in a moment. Now that. The time. You know he's going to laugh at our theory, don't you?
100%.
Yeah.
That's what I can't wait for.
It's the Gambling Gourmet for Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale. It's one of my favorite places. It is old school joint that's serving Spanish and classic continental cuisine in a cozy, friendly setting. It's at 2768 East Oakland Park Boulevard. They're open every day except Sunday for dinner, starting at 5 p.m. You go in there, you see Joey and his better half, Sally. They are giving the greatest in service. And the food, oh my gosh, it's paella, shrimp with garlic sauce, stuffed veal chop. They serve this great, fantastic, warm sourdough bread. Go to Cafe Seville in Fort Lauderdale and tell them that the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
This comes from the great Defo Lama. It's the bets you don't make, the chances you don't take, that can compromise an otherwise incredible life, my friend.
The only way to get your morning started is with Defo, joined by Lubie, right here on The Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show here on this Tuesday edition of the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubitz, Ion Channel. Google the Defo Show, DEFO. A lot of people like to put an E at the end of Defo. People that I've known for years, they still do the same thing. And not that you necessarily need to go through life, and it would be a necessity to understand how to spell Defo. Bozo, maybe. Defo, not necessary. But, yeah, I guess that would be, William Defoe?
Willem Dafoe, yeah. They wanted you to be Defoe really bad. And they always think it's fake. They're like, so what's his
I like the ghetto pronunciation of Defoe also, like is in Defoe. Right? I always, respect that. Hey, Defoe, you just going to keep shooting the ball? Defoe. Right? You got, some guy named Willie that's inside there, and it's like 6'10", muscles like Schwarzenegger. He's grabbing rebounds, squeezing the air out of the ball, man. The word Spalding comes flying off. It's the logo. As this guy grabs a rebound. Tree Rollins, was he that guy? Who else? Wes Unseld, would you like to go under the basket and mix it up against Wes Unseld, Mike Lubitz?
No way.
With your Jewish, nebbish body. Yes.
No way. No way.
How about, I one time, the largest black eye on the court, I don't know what I was doing on the inside anyway, but probably had missed a layup. And the ball rolls off, and this guy whacked me in the nose with an elbow, and I have never been hit so hard in my life, right? You can get hit by a truck. So I have mad respect for these NBA guys that are in there mixing it up in the paint. I mean, and when you see the size of these guys these days, right? Like Zion Williamson looks like a point guard in the NBA.
He doesn't, but he's not a center, that's for sure.
Well, where is that guy? What's the story on him? I was trying to look up some stats. Has he not played a single minute of basketball this year?
He hasn't really played again. He's been out of shape, and then he got hurt. He's like the thing that they were all worried about that I poo-pooed. They were right, and I was wrong. He has never gotten in shape, and in fact, he's put on a crap load of weight. They were saying he's pushing 3 bills.
Wow, so he doesn't really care, huh?
40. Well, that's what people were worried about, and that's what it. As John Moran has the Grizzlies in like a top 4 seed.
John Moran is like an MVP candidate.
Now they're saying he's better than Luka and Trae Young, 2 guys that were fighting for MVPs last year.
And
John
exciting too. I mean, a very exciting player.
Well,
Luka Doncic, you watch him and you kind of watch in admiration that a guy that looks like that is playing like Larry Bird, for God's sake.
John Moran is like Westbrook but can shoot.
Yes, and good. I mean, there was some acrimony with him and his team when he was out for some reason, and the team went on a winning streak without him. And remember the fans when he came back? Some fans. I mean, how stupid are these fans in Memphis that they're booing this guy for some reason? He comes back and they're like upset. I don't know. Did they lose that game or something? And he hogged the ball. He's not really a ball hog.
No, he's a facilitator. He's like, truly a
great ball player, huh? How about that for a draft, right? Where the debate, there was really no debate. Zion Williamson was the clear-cut number 1 guy.
Monster.
And sort of looked the part, right? And he was very charming. He almost made you stop hating Duke, didn't he?
He was
Zion Williamson?
I don't hate Duke like some people, but I do root against them a lot because of some of the schminks.
Well, it's very inconsistent with your behavior overall as a sports fan, Louie, that you don't hate Duke.
I know.
It's universal. Unless you went there, you hate Duke.
I always had a thing for Coach K. Growing up, I wanted to be a coach, and he was like the great coach. So I always had I liked Coach K. The problem was I hated J.J. Redick, and then I hated the human tripping machine.
Oh, Grayson Allen. What a disgrace, huh?
I hated Grayson Allen. Oh, my God.
That's another common sports talk debate. Should the guy that, in this case, it wasn't vintage Jason Allen cheap shot. And that's one thing that if you were going to lose a dose of respect for Coach K, it had to be the fact that he condoned and facilitated Grayson Allen in any number of just hideous. And for my money, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people out there feel this way. I mean, the cheap shot artist is the worst kind of just human feces that you could possibly get as a sporting entity.
Worse.
Right? I mean, a guy that's going to low bridge you have a breakaway layup, and that was Grayson Allen, right? He's going to stick a foot out there or trip you up, and you go flying. Your face hits the pole under the basket, and in the case of a college game, the guy goes sprawling into the camera. All the people that are around, which is very dangerous to begin with, right? All of those guys shooting pictures. Do they still have that?
Yes.
The guys there with the long lenses right there by the baseline. I mean, come on.
They do.
Hey, could you get back up? Give this guy a little room, huh? But anyway, my man Alex Caruso was the victim of this. But he goes up for a shot, and Allen kind of comes across and clearly fouls him. But it wasn't like he grabbed his head and took him down. The guy just happened to try to break like what was a pretty large fall. I mean, he really looked like, he was Dwight Stones or, doing the Fosbury flop. He went down very hard and, trying to break his fall on the wood with his wrist. And that was it. Guess what? A real good story that was being written in the NBA with Alex Caruso as part of the Chicago Bulls, all of a sudden compromised 6 to 8 weeks with a broken wrist. And there he is. When I first saw that, it was like,
yep.
This cheap shot artist MFer. Because I was surprised to see him surface as a starter with the defending world champion Milwaukee Bucks. Were you not?
Yeah,
Grayson Allen?
They've lost a lot of guys.
I didn't even know he was still in the league, Grayson Allen. Although, he is a viable. He has good form on his jump shot.
He's fine.
And, he can do a few other things. I don't know. Is he the greatest defender? No, because he has to resort to tactics. I'm surprised he hasn't pulled a foreign object out of his trunks. This punk. I'll get like Stephen A. Smith here on the show. That's not a good, evolution to go ahead and follow. All right, so Jason, I was thinking he was coming on top of the hour, but it's going to be about 8:35 Eastern.
Yeah, we're going to have
Jason Cole,
the Harvey man, from what I know.
Harvey. Well, and I want Harvey to get on the program here because we've ignored a lot of stuff, good stuff that's going on. Now, when would you ever think that in a tournament that did not feature Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic, when would you ever think that Rafael Nadal could kind of quietly slip his way into the semifinals?
Yeah, he's like forgotten. People, I think,
and nobody's talking about it. Nobody.
I didn't know he was still playing, so that tells you. Like people,
a bloodbath of a 5-setter earlier. I guess. See, now is it today or tomorrow or yesterday in Australia? Do you know? I mean, because they're in a different time zone, and this was. I mean, should I really be crying about this? ESPN Plus. What's your opinion on subscribing to ESPN Plus?
I was forced to because I have the Hulu TV and they have that stupid ass package. So they, for $5 more, they gave me Disney Plus, which I already paid for, and they gave me ESPN Plus, which I've still never used. So I don't. Those of you, I wouldn't subscribe to it. I don't need it. I don't watch MMA. If you like MMA, it's probably good for you because you get all the fights.
If you like anything now, I mean, they're starting to shift a lot of traffic and content to their premium, I guess, channel now, which is essentially pay-per-view. Although you pay what, like $7 a month for that, ESPN Plus. I was tempted. I tried to see if I was some way that maybe I had it on this new cable system I'm on, but it was Shutout City. But they have a bunch of the key matches in the Australian Open on ESPN Plus now, and I would imagine that they're going to be streaming baseball games and things like that, and anything else.
Jesus, so
it's only a matter of time, right?
It says it's Wednesday, January 26th in Australia. It's 12:06 a.m. right now.
There you go.
So it is almost a day. Jesus. My math sucks.
So it's yesterday's new tomorrow. I mean, it really is. When we start delivering these results. Anyway, I was trying to track this result. Somehow my computer froze here, my other computer. So, because there are great matches going on there right now. I mean, that Gael Monfils guy from France, been around a long time.
Yeah, yes.
Very exciting athletic player. I mean, he is like the good guy's version of Nick Kyrgios, the Australian, who's the bad boy of tennis, right? Remember, he's at the changeover and he's telling Wawrinka as he's losing to Stan Wawrinka, and you can clearly hear him say, "You know what, Stan? You may be up 2-1, but I slept with your girlfriend last night."
But he's not joking. He really did. That's
probably had, yeah, no doubt about it, right?
Your mother, like he literally did.
I mean, only Antonio Margarito. You talk about trash talking in the middle of an event. That's pretty good stuff.
It's worse when it's real. Like, that's the problem.
When you're beating a guy, and it's rare for me, but when you're beating a guy pretty badly, which was the case last night in my personal matchup with fabled Dr. Jerry Perlmutter, Geezers at Caesars, and you have to change the subject. You can't even talk about what's going on in the game.
Oh, no way.
It's like, so how's work? Still seeing a girlfriend? Those are the changeovers, right? When you're talking 6-1 in love, which is ugliness. I mean, if you're losing to me by that score, you really have to consider taking up croquet at that point. You want to just chuck a frisbee? Yeah, okay. All right. We're coming back in just a few minutes here. And as we mentioned, the boxing at Hialeah Park, hialeahpark.com. Frankie's very excited. I love, you can see the buildup of enthusiasm, momentum, and the sort of anxiousness of staging a major sporting event, and you can feel it coming with Frank Fiore. I can sense it even in just the tone of his press releases, right? Where he's talking about this thing, trying to arrange to get Louis on the show tomorrow. Louis DeCubas.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay.
You boxing fans will be familiar with Louis DeCubas, and wow, I want to. He goes way back with this stuff, bringing over Cuban defectors. I think. I don't want to say that Joel Casamayor. We'll have to ask him this when he comes on the show. I don't believe Casamayor was his first guy. And he had any number of guys that either ended up as world champions, multiple world champions, or fought for championships and gave a pretty good account of themselves. And a lot of very exciting fighters brought over by Louis DeCubas here. And I don't know how he does it, but what a pipeline. This guy has to be lighting up a big cigar from Havana, no? After his career. And just saying, wow. Arislandi Lara, another one of his fighters. I mean, multiple world champion. Who wants to fight Lara? Nobody, right? You think Lomachenko wants to get in there with him?
No way.
No way. All right, we're coming back with more. Harvey Fialkov. We'll get into this Australian Open. It's been very entertaining. Nadal, He wins a 5-setter over this guy, Dennis Shapovalov. How about me? Canadian, of course. You play hockey? No, I got racket. And anyway, this kid's good, man. He's a young kid. He's been around for a little while for, a guy so young and at a top level. And, hasn't really broken through and won any of the slams or even, I don't think he's even been to a final. But Shapovalov, man, he can knock the crap out of the ball. Dueling lefties last night on the court.
Wow.
And yet Nadal wins it, and it's like, which, he's in a dead heat with Federer and Joker for the most Grand Slam titles at 20, and nobody thought, least likely to get to 21 would be Federer at this point.
Yeah, he's done.
Nadal with a legitimate shot to do it. All right, we're coming back with more. A couple of guests lined up for you here on the show. Harvey, you'll get into that whole Australian Open. I'm sure he's been following it. I don't know if he has ESPN Plus to see the other matches. And then, of course, Jason Cole will run our theory by him that we spent the first hour of the show on, essentially saying, why not do the obvious? It's the most fair and equitable thing. Roger Goodell, I rest my case. Just continue the game, pick it right up from where it was when it left off. That's the most fair thing to do, except now you have the other parameter, which is next score wins. How many times have you said it? Next basket wins, Lubie. Next score wins. Done it a million times in the schoolyard. This is the most fair way to do it because that's the way the game's set up. It was set up for Buffalo to have the next opportunity to score. All right, back with more. Harvey Fialkoff, a longtime sports writer down here. Very enthusiastic sports fan. I dig that he gets into tennis. And Jason Cole on the NFL. That's straight ahead here. On the Defo Show on ION Channel, I'm Jeff Deforrest. He's Mike Lubie Lubitz. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, man. That's going to be rocking on Sunday, Lubie. Rocking.
Yes.
The sports bar there remodeled. And, of course, we can't wait to get down there again. It was such a blast being down there. Dominic and Jemmy, tremendous job. Really does some great stuff there. Larry Calvano, the owner, you can tell the spirit. The guy gets up there and plays with the band.
Yes.
And as we said, it's not like a James Dolan thing where he opens for the Eagles on base.
Great.
At Madison Square Garden. I own the building, by the way.
What do you mean? We were rocking out to the band going, oh, this band's good. Who is it?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? It's the owner and the GM.
It's the owner and, the guy that's taking care of you guys.
What?
What? He was just in the kitchen there with a pizza.
That's weird.
After, schlepping all day. It was hardly a schlep. But, working all day, working very hard. Dominic and Jemmy, unbelievable. And they're singing with the band. You would have thought Bono and the boys got up there to do a couple of numbers. Yeah, we just happened to be in town. Very nice. That would be a cool thing if you saw a band like that. They just happen to be rolling through the keys. They get up. Musicians will do that, man.
Well, I was going to
just start singing to the sunset there, right by the bay. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill. That's kind of stuff, magical stuff that happens there. The food and drink is great. Combinations, fantastic. JimmyJohnson'sBigChill.com is where you find out more about that. And I'm talking about high-end luxury. And accommodations for even more than one couple or whatever. And without getting, don't start with your, sexual double entendre aspersions that you want to cast on me all the time. No, and it's just a great way to enjoy the Keys. Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, mile marker 104, the Overseas Highway. Check it out. We'll be down there in February sometime. We'll give you all the details as we're still working on a couple of things. And Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill, of course, fine sponsor of our Dateline Dolphins with John Kajemi. All right, we're coming back with Harvey Fialkoff and Jason Cole here on the Defo Show in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I think I want to come back as The Bachelor. It's 8:14.
Sure.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
Hey, it's Mike Mayo for Even Keel Fish Shack, corner of A1A and Commercial Boulevard at Lauderdale by the Sea. It's my favorite place now for great seafood in a casual beachfront setting. They've got happy hour 4 to 7 Monday through Friday. They've got great dishes like grilled oysters and oysters on the half shell, bang bang shrimp, lobster rolls, octopus. They also have burgers and chicken for those who don't like the seafood. They're open 7 days a week for a lunch, dinner, and weekend brunch. Go to Even Keel Fish Shack. Go say hi to Dave and Brad and tell them the Gambling Gourmet sent you.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752. Would you go into court without an attorney? So why would you go up against an insurance company without Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa? 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Give them a call at 954-809-8752. Why go up against insurance companies alone when you can have Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa on your side?
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. That could be another book that we put out. Let's hope we're dead wrong about a lot of things. The end is near. You can tell the end is near, man. You can definitely do that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Welcome back to the show on the Ion channel. We are with the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz, and a couple of good people coming up here on the program. Wanted to diversify the conversation a little bit.
Yes.
And we're joined here by a longtime sports writer and huge, fan of the game of tennis. I love that we can talk about tennis with this gentleman here on the show because it was a lost thing. The South Florida sports market was very one-dimensional in terms of football is king. And that was it. You could talk about the Miami Dolphins all day long if you were working out of the South Florida market here, write about them all day long, and you'd probably be on top of everybody else. And surprisingly, as much tennis is being played here. And the park was full last night. All 16 courts were occupied. People love playing the game. They love watching the game.
People are always playing it, but we don't want to talk about it. It's really weird. South Floridians.
Nobody, yeah. You could bark about tennis on a call-in show all day long, and the next call would be, okay, let's open up the phone lines here. Did you see that match, Federer and Nadal last night, a classic? And the first call is, you think Marino's going to retire? I'll hang up and listen. All right, so we get a chance to explore some things here, some tennis themes with Harvey Fialkoff, longtime sports writer, big tennis aficionado. Harvey, how are you? Are you a subscriber to ESPN Plus? What do you think about getting, pardon the pun, aced out of some of these matches if you're not? Because I'd love to be watching this Monfils-Berrettini match that's going on right now, I think.
Well, I'm watching it live as we speak, but not on ESPN Plus. Those greedy guys that screw tennis fans all around the country and world by charging extra for the tennis now. You couldn't watch the Barty match today. You can't watch this beautiful match between Monfils and Berrettini, which is going to the fifth set right now. Monfils just got broken to start off the fifth set. He came back from 2 sets down. And, of course, Rafa's got the winner of this match. He'd love it to be Monfils. He's 12-2 against Monfils. Be the battle of 35-year-olds. But Berrettini
Also lost to Rockland last year's U.S. Open at Stanley's, but he's got the big serve. The big Italian can hit about 130 down the tee. But listen, I got this sketchy streaming service called Apollo, and I get everything, every sporting event, every movie, everything. It's about $17 a month. My nephew turned me onto it at Arizona, and I'm loving it, man. And I'm watching it right now. Apollo streaming, boys. Check it out.
Apollo streaming. All right, so I can bang all this stuff with Comcast after I went through great pains and expense to have this installed.
I got YouTube TV and I got Apollo, and the whole thing combined is about $80 a month.
All right.
Stream everything. Yeah, it's great. But listen, 2 points. Zion Williamson, by the way, is out with a fractured foot all year, and also Thanksgiving dinner. That put him out also. And the other thing is the NFL deep is the not fair league, because I agree with you. That's a joke that Buffalo and Josh Allen didn't get another shot at it in the OT. I love your solution. The other solution is obviously give both teams a chance to score. I don't care if it's a field goal, a safety, a touchdown. Both teams need to touch the ball in the overtime. It's a joke that a coin flip ended Buffalo's season. And by the way, Buffalo's in mourning because Jessica Pegula, the great young American tennis player from Buffalo, the daughter of the owner of the Bills and the Sabres, got killed by Ash Barty today in the quarterfinal. So it was a rough day for Buffalo fans.
No doubt about it. Well, you see, there's a flaw. The only thing, it's so obvious that no one will ever recognize that this is a solution. Because if both teams get the ball, there's also an inequity there, and you would want to defer on the kickoff because you'd want to know what the other team did with the ball. And so that would change the dynamic also, where the team that got the ball second, let's say now Buffalo got a kickoff after the Kansas City score, but they know that every situation is 4-down territory because they have to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So they have an unfair advantage over Kansas City, who did not have that condition already laid out for them. So they were going to have to punt the ball away if they went 3 and out from the 25. I mean, they're kicking the ball back, and all Buffalo needed to do then is move the ball about 30 yards and kick a field goal. This is the most fair situation because football is so unique in that, I mean, they worked to get to this point. Each team had ample opportunity to win a game. Lubie shoots out there the lame argument, common theory. Yeah, well, they shouldn't have given it up with 13 seconds. But they did. You know what? And so that left the game where it was when it was undecided on the scoreboard, and Buffalo would have received the kickoff to begin the overtime period. It's not romantic with the drama of the coin toss and all that, but it's totally fair because this is where the game left off. So why not just continue it?
Lubie's solution is wrong because it's a tie game. And even the referee said before the coin flip, we're starting over. They're not starting over if Buffalo doesn't have a chance to get the ball.
They played the game to this point, yes. You know that Jason Cole is going to disagree with me because he's got, he can't possibly let a clown like me put forward a theory that makes more sense than any of them combined. It's not unique. I mean, I've seen it before. It's not like I came up with it for the first time ever or anything, but I'm not claiming that. I just, every time I look at the situation, it's the most fair thing.
Time out, but I disagree with you on one point. In every sport, the team that scores first, hockey, baseball, football, every sport, the team that scores first usually wins the game. The high percentage, when you score first in any sport, you usually win the game. So I kind of disagree with you at that one point that they'll know what to do with the other, depending on what the first team with the ball does. So anyhow.
Well, no, it would create a situation where they knew they had to go for a 4th down, even if they, threw 3 incompletions from their own 25. Now, they don't have. I mean, they know they have to go for every 4th down because they have to score a touchdown. So they do have a little bit of an advantage in getting the ball second. All right, so let me ask you this, Harvey. Just getting back to this whole Australian Open thing, because the women's side, it looks like they've been melting there. I mean, it was fairly pleasant weather, and in the last couple of matches that I was able to see, including Madison Keys win to make it to the semifinals, which that's a nice story also, because this girl looked like she was washed up last year. She, I think, only won like 11 matches all year long.
No, Madison Keys, ever since she got killed in the U.S. Open final to Sloane Stephens about 3-4 years ago, she's been going downhill. but she grew up here in Boca at the Everett Tennis Academy, so obviously Chris has a rooting interest. But Keys is only 26 years old, been around forever. They always say she's the best player not to win a slam. She kind of plays a little bit like the old Lindsay Davenport. She goes for it all. She doesn't pull back, almost like James Blake. They don't know how to temper down their game, but she's learned how to pull back a little bit to keep in the point, plays a little more defense. She got in better shape, and suddenly she's having a resurgence. She also sees putting too much pressure on herself. So it's great to see 3 women in the final 8, 3 American women in the final 8, along with, Danielle Collins and Jessica Pegula, who just lost. Danielle Collins, a late bloomer, she's got Elise Cornet tomorrow. I think you were talking about, Jeff, when you referenced the heat factor. Simona Halep, usually the best positioned athlete on the women's game, against Cornet, who's 32 years old, I believe, never reached a quarterfinal in 64 opportunities until this week. Halep was melting down in the first set. Hey, it's 91 degrees, high heat index and humidity, and even Rafa Nadal, who won the first 2 sets this morning against Shapovalov, got sick in the 3rd and 4th set. He was the heat bothered him, the stomach, and then he turned it on in the 5th set. And the more experience, he knows how to turn it on when he has to. Shapovalov melted down a little bit, had a few temper tantrums, complaining Rafa was taking too long. But the young Canadian has firepower, which can hurt Rafa, but Rafa figured him out. And it's amazing. Wouldn't it be ironic? Djokovic has won the Australian Open 9 times, and he looked like the favorite to win the 21st Grand Slam and move ahead of Rafa and Raja. He gets kicked out of Australia because he doesn't get the damn shot. And now Rafa, who hadn't played in 6 months with a foot injury until the tune-up in Adelaide, which he did win, and Rafa, of all people at 35, now has a golden opportunity to win the 21st Grand Slam and pass Raj and Novak. He might have, looks like Berrettini's up for break in the 5th, so he'll have to play the hard-serving Italian probably. But here's the thing, Deep. 4-hour match today, which is tough on Rafa, but he's got 2 full days off now until the semifinal, which is really going to help him. You have another Italian kid, this kid, Yannick Sinner.
Yeah, you love that guy. You talked about him years ago. Yeah.
Unbelievable ground strokes. He's got Medvedev. Obviously, Medvedev, the flaky Russian, is favored to win. So I see Medvedev and Rafa in the final right now, and that'll be amazing. Ash Barty, the Aussie, is going to be the first Australian woman to win in Australia in about 30, 40 years. Some woman named Chris O'Neill won it about then. And Ash Barty looks unbeatable right now. She's under control. She has an all-court game, and she's just a lovely player to watch. I love her talent and her game, and I think she's going to hoist the Aussie Open. It'll be her third major. She's been number 1 this will be 3 years, since Serena drifted away. So people don't talk much about Ash Barty. She didn't play much last year because of the Australian, the pandemic was really bad there, and it was tough to leave the country. But she did it for about 9 months and won 2 slams while she did it. So she's a pleasure to watch. Exciting. Best time of year, Deep. You got the Heat number 1 in the East. You got the Panthers number 1 in the NHL. Forget about the Dolphins. Why do people still talk about the Dolphins and get depressed? Stop already. Let's go for the positives in life. Stop. I'm sick of them.
It looks like this Dayball guy that they supposedly coveted is going to end up with the Giants. At least that's what the New York Post was speculating on. And, curious your opinion about this. I have a funny feeling, that you might actually agree. Lubie doesn't know what he thinks about this, and a lot of people don't. And that is the Baseball Hall of Fame. Now, I saw a little survey of writers that were publicizing whether or not they voted for Bonds or Clemens. And it looked like they had 9 guys that have a vote from the New York Post, or this might have just been their own personal survey. Wow. Maybe it wasn't the actual one because I guess more balance would be secret. But all the Post guys would have put Bonds and Clemens in the Hall of Fame, every one of them.
And I would.
So what do you think? And Lubie, yes, no? What did you say?
Well, I would. I look, and we talked to someone the other day who was like, "Well, if you're a cheater, that's a cheater." But we do know. In my mind, they all used it. So either no one gets in or everyone gets in. Like, you get on your stats. I guess you said this, Defo. And I felt like that 10 years ago. Cheating is the worst thing ever. But we don't know who cheated. We just assumed it was hitters. Now we've realized it is pitchers too. Again, if hang 'em high Felix Heredia, who was 145 pounds, with roids, then who the hell wasn't on roids? then who the hell wasn't on roids? Like, to me, then it's even. It's a fair playing field.
Yeah.
If you have the stats, put him in.
Yeah.
Like, to do the math. Well, his head's big and his isn't. Okay, I'm not a scientist. I don't fucking
Well,
know.
I mean,
but
with Bonds, look, it's
Bonds
very
is easy.
difficult to hide.
Clemens was easy because Clemens sucked at the end of Boston. Like, people thought he was done. And they went on to win multiple Cy Youngs in Toronto and New York. So obviously he was on it. But to me, to do the math, I don't know. That's not my job. My job is to look at stats. A guy was good enough to get in or not. That's where I'm at this point.
You don't find it a curious curve that he was averaging 32 home runs a year and all of a sudden was hitting 60 by the All-Star break at 47 years old? Little bat speed advantage. What do you think, Harvey? I mean, these guys in or out? What are you looking for? What's just?
Well, you pick two. You pick two guys out there that were special. Okay, since Bonds and Clemens would have been in the Hall of Famers no matter before the steroid era or after. So those two to me belong in the Hall of Fame with an asterisk. So Roger Maris got the asterisk. Listen, Pete Rose should be in there with the asterisk, an explanation that he bet on baseball. They should be in. They would clearly took steroids. But how come guys like Bagwell and Biggio, you don't think they were roided out?
Not Bagwell. What are you talking about?
Oh my God! But guys like Sosa and McGuire, they would not have got in without the roids. So guys like that do not belong in. But Clemens and Bonds were the best. And A-Rod, too, was great before roids came into play. And also, remember, Bud Selig is in the Hall of Fame. That cheating commission, he looked the other way because it was great for ratings, the home run rate. So now why is he in there? He overlooked steroids. So to me, those guys belong in there with an asterisk. But the marginal guys like Sosa never would have had those kind of numbers without roids. And by the way, why isn't Don Mattingly in the Hall of Fame wearing that Yankee hat proud? When you got Harold freaking Baines in there, he couldn't carry Mattingly's cleats. Are you kidding me?
The Baines thing is weird. Like Mattingly was.
You're on your game. Are you getting the medical gummies? I mean, is that what inspired this conversation? Hey, Harvey, this is the best Harvey we've ever had on any show ever.
Best Harvey ever.
You're great today.
I am fired up. Are you kidding? Don Mattingly dominated baseball for 6-7 years. And even after his back went out on him, he still hit a 290, drove an 85 ribby. His only playoff series, he batted about 370. So give the guy a break. And plus, he's been great for baseball as a manager. He's a class act. The guy belongs in the Hall of Fame as much as anybody else. And with no asterisk, nobody did it cleaner than Don. Golden Glove, every year a gold glove.
He's a good dude, too.
Come on already.
Liked. That's what's weird about the Mattingly
Oh, my
stuff.
God.
Yeah, he's a real gentleman. I mean, just the greatest. When you're around him, you can.
Yeah, we love
he is like the old Trevor Demon saying when he was calling a race out at Santa Anita with the Australian accent or South African accent. And he would say, "Here he comes around the turn, exuding class." And that's what Mattingly does. He exudes class, which is great. All right, Harvey, great stuff today. You know what? We want this new Harvey, man, for 2022. We like it. And I'm sure our fans do too. Excellent on everything. And thanks so much for joining us here on the show. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Lastly, on a sad note, I just want to say prayers out to Clark Gillies and his family. I mean, I was a huge Islander family on Long Island when they dominated 4 dynasties in a row. I played softball against Gillies. The guy was so massive, he played left field and center field at the same time. I mean, the guy was another class Hall of Famer. And, first Betty White, and now Clark Gillies. I can't take it deep. But anyhow, on that note, Swiatek will lose to Barty in the final of the Australian Open. And Rafa, I'm afraid that Medvedev is going to take care of him. But class act, Rafa Nadal also. Say goodnight.
Berrettini, man. You think he has any trouble getting chicks? This Italian stud? He's unbelievable. All right, Harvey, thanks for being with us, my friend. Thank you.
And thank you.
Polyman put it with another word that rhymes with wussy, which I don't even know if you can really use that with any level of dignity here on a broadcast. But said, you think he has any trouble getting, and you fill in the blank. All right, we're coming back. Jason Cole. We'll run our theory by Jason Cole. Agree or disagree, Jason Cole? What do you say, Lubie? Let's put a bet on this thing.
I think he'll have I'm not saying he'll like it or won't. I'm saying he'll have a negative, whereas I couldn't come up with a negative, and Harvey liked it, and Andy liked it on the chat line. I feel like Jason Cole will have a negative of some kind.
It is the most logical, fair way to settle a football game. in overtime. If you're going to try to break ties, all of a sudden, the situation that changes is next score wins, period. And you get the ball in whatever circumstance you had it in, or it's played out as if the game was just being extended. There you go. You suspended a baseball game because of rain. They come back out the next day to continue the game, and everybody's in the same circumstance. Only in baseball, obviously, you're playing 9 innings, so it's not next score wins, but this is the condition of the overtime, that the next score wins. Very fair. Because it would have been Buffalo's ball, and guess what? They got to the overtime in a tie situation where they were going to receive the kickoff, and boom. So they have the opportunity to go down, kick a field goal, and win the ball game, and that's it. Issue settled, my friend.
Got it.
Issue completely settled.
I got it.
No inequities. I mean, what was fair? Kansas City, it took everything they had to tie the ball game up, but guess what? There was no time left on the clock, and they were scheduled to kick off.
They got
kick
it
off
back.
again.
They get it back, yes. I get it.
Instead, they get it back against a gassed-out defense right away to start overtime because guess what, kids? We're starting over, but we have the same ugly situation where, in this case, a touchdown is the equivalent of any score, and next score wins.
Yes.
So nobody could complain about the other situation, although Jason Cole will probably say it's an idiotic idea. All right, we're coming back with Jason. We'll see what he has to say about that and many other things about the NFL. Very exciting weekend. This whole argument, I guess, controversy is good, right? Keeps you in the headlines and everything. Keeps people talking about you.
The NFL loves
to tell you the truth, even though there are only 2 games and it's coming up next Sunday, I can't wait for those 2 games. And I'm thinking gonna be in Vegas in some sports book watching these games with a bunch of screaming betting maniacs. Remember when that young kid had like a knapsack full of cash he was bringing up to the window there at Caesar's Palace? Were you sitting with me when that happened? Yes. And we said, what the hell is this guy doing? And he whipped out like just stacks of money. Couldn't have been more than 16. I don't even think they looked at his license. Okay, Johnny. Yeah, who you running the money for? All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:36.
Hey there, it's Mike Mayo. Do you like steaks? Do you like seafood? Do you like classic old Florida charm? You could get that all and more at Tropical Acres Steakhouse and Butcher Shop. It's at 2500 Griffin Road in Dania, just west of 95. The Studiali family, they've been running the place a long time. It's been there more than 70 years. And it is now a place you can get early bird specials along with steaks to take home and throw on the grill yourself at the Butcher Shop. That's open 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. It's open for dinner every night starting at 4:30, but they are closed on Sundays. Go to Tropical Acres. It's a place to go for a great meal, great people, good value. Tropical Acres.
The championship meet is right around the corner at Gulfstream Park. The only place for live racing, Gulfstream's action has never been hotter. Whether it's on the track, in the casino, or part of the dining and entertainment offered at the Village of Gulfstream Park. Currently running Thursday through Sunday, Gulfstream's racing package is the best in the country, with all the top horses and people in the game pointing towards another tremendous winter season. Check out the remodeled first floor casino, open 7 days and nights a week, along with the many special events and concerts happening at Gulfstream Park. You can place your wagers from anywhere at firstbet.com. Check the calendar of events at gulfstreampark.com.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, There is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
Buy or lease a Taos and take it to the house at Deal Volkswagen. Anna and her team make your next VW purchase or lease so easy with new inventory rolling in daily and the biggest selection of certified pre-owned vehicles in the business. You can make your deal online at dealvolkswagen.com or visit the beautiful showroom in the classic location, 3601 Bird Road, right in the heart of the Gables. Or give Anna and the team at Deal a call at 305-448-DEEL. Jettas, Passats, Tiguans, Atlas models, and the hottest vehicle in the industry, the new Taos, all at unbeatable prices and all ready to roll off the showroom floor at the #1 Volkswagen dealership around, Deal Volkswagen. Jason Cole joins us here on the show. I would imagine that there's a whole new topical field for country singers in Nashville, and they no longer will have to write about their dog dying or the wife cheating on them, various Jesus tributes. Ryan Tannehill is your starting quarterback. That has to end up being the subject of some kind of tragic country song.
Tannehill is like the perfect name for a country song.
Isn't it? I was just thinking that. I'm going to send something to Trace Atkins here, see if he'll record it.
I believe he won't be Swill. His name is Tannehill or something like that.
I guess that's the perfect segue to bring on our next guest here on the program, the Defo Show. Jeff Deforrest, Mike Lubie, Lubitz with you on ION Channel and streaming audio and video around the world. We welcome to the show our favorite NFL insider, known this gentleman for a long, long time, dating back to his writing days here in South Florida at various local newspapers. Always did a tremendous job as a beat writer for the Dolphins, then went international, took over the internet before Al Gore even knew what it was. Jason Cole was already a pioneer in internet coverage and just does a dynamite job. He's written many books, has a movie in the works. We welcome to the show the great Jason Cole. Jason, how are you, my friend?
I am fantastic. I forgot about that reference to Tannehill.
I didn't do it.
Well, there was a purpose to it. Yeah,
it just fit.
Yeah, you know how it is. You write something. You have to be decisive in your opinions. I mean, nobody's going to pay you to just sit on a fence. As a top-notch NFL reporter and insider, and when they ask you for an opinion, you're very strong with that. Yes, and Lubie was adamant for years that Ryan Tannehill will never take a team to a Super Bowl. He will never take a team to a Super Bowl. So here he was for like the second year in a row on the precipice of possibly. I was in a very favorable position to take a team to a Super Bowl. So as you can imagine, because nobody wants to be wrong in this business, Jason, and I would imagine, you feel the same way about certain things. No one was rooting harder against Tannehill and screaming louder when that ball got picked off at the end of the game. You clown, Tannehill! Than Mike Lubitz. He was vindicated in his opinion, at least for now.
Well, I think Armando Saldero, for whatever reason, I don't know what Armando's problem with Tannehill is, but he's up there too. It's his loathing of Tannehill. I don't understand why people loathe Tannehill. I do understand why you would say he's going to never take a team to a Super Bowl because he's decidedly mediocre. I just like, not every team gets to have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to ride with somebody, right? And so I get it. I get it why Tennessee rides with Ryan Tannehill or rides with Tannehill, which again is another country song.
Ride with Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah. And so this is decisively, I get it. Decisively, I bet against them making a Super Bowl. But the history of the Super Bowl does have a series of quarterbacks who were substandard who made it, like Trent Dilfer, Brad Johnson. There are guys, Marco Rippon, who, happened to have a great year, with the Washington.
And Hostetler win one, Jeff Hostetler?
Yes, he did.
Just Hostetler won one.
Yeah.
There
are many examples. Dilfer was the worst thing that ever happened, though, because then people believed that you could win without having a standout quarterback.
Well, correct. Which you can do in rare moments, like
exactly.
And that it happened in that era. what happened in that era, if you remember, like Trent Dilfer and Johnson are 2 years apart, and squeezed in between those is the first Tom Brady win, which is not really Tom Brady driven. It's mostly that New England defense driven, right?
Yeah.
And then Brady becomes better in his fourth and fifth years as a starter, and then become a little bit more of a passing team. So you could do it because that was a down era for quarterbacks. It was, as Marino was leaving the league, as Elway was leaving the league, as Steve Young and Troy Aikman. All these guys were leaving the league. Peyton Manning is still really young, et cetera, et cetera. So it's in this really rare period where quarterbacking was down. We might be getting there soon, where we're in a bit of a lull. I just don't know how long it's going to last. But you're still going to have Mahomes and Josh Allen on, at least one side of this whole thing. So
don't leave out Justin Herbert either. There, Jason.
I understand why Tennessee does it.
Burrow,
but it has to be special.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's capable, and we've seen quarterbacks fall into that situation also, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for Lubie and his dignity, whatever is left of it, and whatever there was to begin with, which wasn't much, but he's vindicated. I'm telling you. Yeah, you've been ripping this guy forever. I'm not sure, where you stood. I don't know if you were in agreement with our, situation where we came up with the formula. We proposed it to Roger Goodell to end the whole tanking situation that was occurring on a regular basis in the NFL to get draft picks by kind of reshaping the draft order a little bit and not being so inclined to reward total futility. So you don't have a bunch of bag ladies, so literally like being pulled out of Publix to start on the offensive line for the Miami Dolphins, and they win 5 games anyway and manage to screw that up. But I have the solution for the overtime, and this was in the aftermath of a tremendous game, which we want to talk about also, Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. That was great. And many people feel like the Bills got jobbed because they didn't get a chance to get the ball. And our stipulation is that there is no great equitable situation that you can have by restarting the game. So since you're going to change the parameters, why not just continue the game from the exact point where it was? It takes that whole situation out. Maybe, you don't have to play as many commercials and cut the boomer on the set. But, but the coin toss is what irritates people the most because, it's just arbitrary luck, whether you win that thing. And then if it decides the game as it did without the other team getting the ball, it seems radically unfair. But why not? Because football's so unique. Just say, okay, whatever the circumstance was when the game ended, to bring about overtime, that's a situation we're going to pick it up in, as if you had suspended a baseball game or something, and you go send the runners out to second and third, when you pick up the game the next day. So Buffalo would have got the kickoff, and the other condition is, okay, it is sudden death because this is how the game ended, and these are the rules, and we're going to continue a 60-minute game instead of starting a new one with totally different conditions. What do you think, Jason Cole? Are we crazy? Are we Michigana, or are we onto something?
You're mostly Michigana.
I knew you were going to say that. Why did I even ask?
I told you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you asked a question you knew the answer to, and then you're surprised when you got.
We had a bet on that, by the way, Jason, and we both cashed in, Lubie and me. Yeah, that you would say that was asinine.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I really do. I swear.
Well, yes, you would. No, because it changes the parameters of what you do in the final seconds, which can then cost you the game in regulation. Because
could be. All right. Well, that's a chance you take.
That's Defo's point, is that it makes it more interesting.
At least it's in the context of the game and not like a new game with a new set of rules completely that unfortunately are inequitable either way, because if you get the kickoff and score a touchdown, game's over.
How about just play defense?
But I mean, you're playing the game to this point. Both defenses are gassed at that point. I mean, gassed. So is it fair? I mean, is it fair that people are saying, "Well, geez, Kansas City should have never scored," but you know what they did? Buffalo should have never scored those 2 touchdowns. I mean, when do you ever see that?
I'm willing to give somebody a second. I'm willing to give somebody another possession, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to change the end game and force somebody to keep playing in regulation. That puts them in a really high risk situation. I'd have to think about that long and hard, but like you're basically forcing somebody who's now in a tie game to have to continue playing with, like, say gets tied with, I don't know, 13 seconds left. You're forcing them to say on first down, we're going to go for some kind of play. But they're probably just going to run it anyways because they're going to take a low risk situation just to get to the overtime situation. They're not going to pass it because they don't want to lose in regulation. They want to continue on. Or maybe
some things are going to change, but there's no perfect solution. It's just because you're changing the dynamic of how the game is won.
Right. At the end of the day, I think everybody says, well, it makes it sound like the only thing that you get is you have to have the ball in order to win a game. Hold them to a field goal or hold them to not scoring a touchdown. One of the two. There's two or three options here that can win a game for you, and you get the ball back. I don't really see that as really overwhelmingly awful as a situation. Maybe this inspires some kind of change, but it didn't really work in the Minnesota New Orleans game very effectively to move the owners to make a change. I don't think the owners are looking at this and seeing that it's terribly awful from a competitive standpoint.
Oh, the owners love it, man. They love the whole new drama and all of that. Yeah.
But the attention.
I don't know that they love the tension over the argument over a rule. That's not really what it is. But I think that they see the same thing that a lot of us see, which is stop the other team. The Bills at that point in time. Yeah, they played horrible defense. I mean,
no doubt
down there.
But they were toast though defensively. I mean, you could see both defenses were finished at the end of that game. I mean, the relative ease that both teams. They threw for 400 yards in the last 2 minutes. These two quarterbacks, plus the overtime. I mean,
I understand that, but I don't know that that's because the defenses were so much quote unquote gassed, or they're just awful. Period.
Well, that could be too. I mean, we've seen this from Andy Reid teams in the past.
Right. So
I like my fix, Jason. I do. Here's the thing: how many times in those Sun Sentinel basketball games were you backing Fialkov down to the hoop, right? And all of a sudden it's 100 degrees and it's 10-10. Well, you just say next score wins. I mean, and that's okay to decide a game sometimes. Next score wins, and I feel that I would be more comfortable with that than starting over with a coin flip and rules that people can look at and see they're inequitable.
If it's next score wins, I win every time because I can't be stopped.
Because Fialkov had nothing, yeah.
At least my head. Fialkov, Salguero, Kaminsky, every one of them. They had no game.
When you did the double head fake, Jason, I mean, that was, it was literally,
that's a lot of fake. If you remember,
unstoppable. Yeah. I mean, the wind alone that was created was unbelievable. Jason Cole with us here on the Defo Show. All right, let's talk about what happened on the field. Phenomenal. I don't know. Everybody always says this. We were talking about it with various people yesterday, including Leslie Visser. You're as good as your last film. I mean, everybody always says, wow, that was the most sensational weekend ever. But I think, in probably 60 years of watching football, that might have been the most sensational weekend I've seen of NFL action.
I would agree with that. I mean, how are you going to beat 4 games coming down to, determined on the last play? I mean, really, every single one of those games was determined on the last play of the game. So, yeah, that was awesome. There's no question about it. So I loved it. I also loved that I was right on 3 out of 4 games. And by the way, I'm 9 for 10 so far.
Nice.
Oh, God.
Good for you.
Where were you, before this phone call to the show? Well, we needed you desperately. We're like 2-8 against the spread and getting buried.
You need to start
I'm always
tapping in the coals.
I went out to the local park and spread a fistful of my mother's ashes at the goalpost there, just trying to change my luck. over the weekend. All right. I know. I think
I believe that.
yeah. Well, you know me for a while now.
Yes. Look, I thought this. Look, there's no other word for it other than it was a fantastic weekend. The NFL, Roger Goodell is probably smiling at the end of this going, can you up me to $72 million
Exactly.
per year? Yeah.
I need a little per diem with that $63 million, just in case I go out to lunch. All right, a quick thought here. I know it seems like, Lubie's giving me the rap sign here, and I don't know if you have another commitment, Jason, but just wanted to get like a quick word. Rodgers, Brady. Most people see Rodgers coming back, Brady maybe retiring. I don't know. What's your feeling? Does Rodgers come back? Does Brady come back? Yes or no?
And the same teams.
Oh, with the same team? Well, if Brady comes back, he's going to come back to the same team. So we know that.
But does he come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just look. You only get to play a kid's game for so long, and I think you play another season. One's the MVP, and one was second in the MVP voting. And you're really going to walk away at that point in your time? I mean, look. At some point, everybody's going to be right about Brady. They're going to retire. At some point, Rodgers is going to retire. So I'm always amused by this kind of guessing. But my gut feeling is I think both of them are going to end up wanting to play one more season. And I really do believe that Rodgers wants to play because he's so angry inside that they hasn't won another title. The big question is, does he come back to Green Bay? Because do you trust that Green Bay is going to get it right? In the last 2 years, Matt LaFleur has been awful.
Yep.
And I mean, Rodgers hasn't been great either, but Matt LaFleur has been certifiably awful in big games. And if you're Aaron Rodgers at the end of your career and you're putting your career in his hands, the answer is, I think, no at this point.
All right. 4 teams left in the hunt. Who's going to be in the Super Bowl?
Oh, this is going to be incredibly. I mean, Kansas City is the best bet because I think that their loss to Cincinnati is very flukish, and I think that Zach Taylor is not. He's not ready for a game against Andy Reid, and I'm assigning a lot of value to coaches, but I've been leaning more towards find me the best coach quarterback combination and in all this. So in that case, in the AFC, I'm going to go with Kansas City and Andy Reid. If you look at the last 10 Super Bowls, I think 7 of them have been won by coaches over the age of 60.
Oh, wow.
So
we applaud that.
I'm like, yeah, and all of them are over the age of 50, every one of them. So I'm going to go with the older guy and with the better quarterback. I think it's a good combination. And the Rams and San Francisco, God, I just can't see Jimmy Garoppolo winning a big game. He keeps doing it.
Yeah.
Man, he keeps throwing away. But the Rams tried so hard to get that game away.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you would have thought there was point shaving involved.
And the worst one, look, I understand physically sometimes guys fumble, and you sit there and you take corrective action. Like Cam Akers, you have to fix this. Cooper Kupp, that was a random one. But when you're in shotgun with like 9 minutes and 10 seconds left in a game where you're up 2 scores and you're on the plus 30, like I thought about that long and hard as I was watching. I was like, why? Sean McVay, what do you think?
Why? Exactly. Okay, thank you. Yeah, why?
Right. Why isn't he under center with at least a single set running back behind him, or if not, play classic I formation football with a fullback? Not that they do that, but at least show that you want to run, so that you force Tampa to have to play defense like that. Instead, you're in shotgun. And the worst nightmarish thing of all things happens is your center snaps the ball when the quarterback is in the back there, right? And it becomes a cluster. Like that to me was classic Sean McVay overthinking a situation. And he's capable of that because he's got mad scientist, and Kyle Shanahan is capable of that. I just feel like Kyle Shanahan has learned a hard lesson during a Super Bowl loss not to do that. And Sean McVay didn't learn from the Super Bowl loss. I think he learned that he wasn't prepared enough for that game, and he continues not to be prepared enough. Like, just show run. Even if you want to throw, run play action. Like that's how advantageous you are. And it was one of the most. I just looked at it and I was going, God, that's a blithering idiot play.
This is from the genius with the coaching tree that everybody wants to tap into. Hey, we have to run, Jason. It sounds like you have a lean towards San Francisco then. San Francisco, KC Super Bowl. We'll see if that plays out. Congratulations on 9-1. And good luck with the movie script. I know you're out there hawking it. You're kind of like John Voight and Ray Donovan, just hawking the movie script, going door to door. It's great. And hopefully you'll have some leverage like he did with that one guy who he went to prison for. But, you're going to have honest, clean success with all of that. We know because you've done it with everything. You've done it with dignity and class. Thanks so much for being with us here on the show.
Anytime, guys. Be good.
Thanks, Cole, man.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jason Cole.
Yeah, I told you. He didn't have a strong, what I will say for you, which
very weak arguments against it. I mean, I love Jason, but
he didn't like it. But I will give you credit in the sense that usually he just rebuffs your takes, and he's not wrong. He did not have a strong negative this time. I will give you that.
It is the most. I mean, there may be some maneuvering at the end of the game. There's maneuvering at the end of the game if you're about to win the game in regulation. So if you're going to manipulate a couple of plays because you want to set it up so you have the ball first in overtime, so be it. I mean, that's the way it goes. But at least it's the most fair situation because it really is literally a continuation of the game where you've just decided, as if you were playing ball in the park, next score wins. Correct, Lubie? How many times have you heard that said in any recreational situation? Hey, how about this? Next score wins.
I sort of agree with him there, where I don't know if I want the NFL divisional round decided like 7-year-olds decided, but
it's not. I mean, it basically, this is where the game was when it went to overtime, like more time. They had to take more time to decide the game. So how are you going to decide it?
Well, we're
starting it all over again with a cockamamie set of rules. I mean,
what Jason said was he doesn't want to change the end. I don't care. I don't mind changing the end. I don't like that they just sit on it. Like, I would like them to have to think about it to the zeros. It
adds strategy to the end of the regulation, also, and coaching decision making to be made. But in this case, look, KC was desperate to tie the game. And, they did it, and congratulations to them. But guess what? Because they were in that position when the game ended, they also were about to kick off to a team that, were there more time left on the clock, could have ended the game with a sudden death score of any type.
Oh, yeah.
Correct?
Well, both people agree. Most people agree. Whoever got the ball in that overtime was winning the game, and they were winning.
Okay, but in this case, Buffalo deserved to have the ball because that's where it was at the end of the game. They got tied up. Obviously, feeble defense. That's their fault, but this is what happened. Kansas City, they weren't equally inept defensively when they gave up 2 strikes from the 20-yard line and out in the final 2 minutes of the ballgame for touchdowns. So, you can't make that argument. Oh, well, it should have never happened. Should have never scored the touchdowns in the first place, Buffalo, to take the lead. 4th and 13, and a guy is wide open in the middle of the field. I mean, please. So, but that makes perfect sense to me. That's the problem that a lot of people are going to have with that. Anyway, it was fun being with you and proliferating that argument. I hope you guys bought into it. Jason Cole, he was kind of going Cramden on that, was he not?
He didn't slam you. Like, normally he would have a great rebuff, and maybe I didn't give him enough time, and I was on purpose, sort of. I wanted to get his natural reaction to what you said, because he's usually really great at giving a natural reaction. And he didn't have a massive negative. I will give you that. He really didn't. He usually has. Well, no,
it makes the most sense. Yeah. It just does. All right, we have to run. We've gone in overtime, 2 minutes of overtime. But if the game ended on the next score, I mean, it's as if the clock was running out in regulation anyway. In other words, if Buffalo got the ball last, most people thought they were going to win the game. Guess what? Yes. They deserved to win the game on that basis, if that was the case. So, you know what? With 13 seconds, they coughed it up. So, you know what? Let's tack on another minute and see what happens.
There you go.
All right. We're going to see you tomorrow, and that's going to be great. We will have a Hialeah Park Trivia Challenge. Lubie will be hosting that. That's going to be great.
We will see, actually, because I just got a message from the one and only Dave Gurgles Gurgley that he's not available. So we will see. We'll do our best. I'll do a show of some kind. I have no problem with that.
You may have to have something else happening there.
We
That's
made it.
possible.
We'll
All right,
figure
that might have just wiped out the entire situation.
We'll be here.
All right. All right, we'll be here tomorrow also, and of course we'll go old school with Tony Segreto during tomorrow's show, so that'll be a lot of fun. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Tell your friends about it. Google the Defo Show. Great to be on Ion Channel. Happy birthday again yesterday to Jack Namer. A lot of tributes being paid to him all over social media and, of course, across the broadcasting industry. And we will see you tomorrow at 7 in the a.m. on the East Coast as we leave you know that.
The time.
We've got a 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.